Hello and welcome to another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. You know, the old adage goes, you are what you eat. And more these days, consumers are looking at what's in the package because we see that the things that we eat literally affect how we think and how we behave in our overall level of health and wellness. With us today is an East Brunswick resident, Lisa Maniaci, and she's here today to tell us more about making healthier choices about the foods that we eat through a special program called the Feingold program. Lisa, welcome to the Wellness Spotlight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, I attended the speech that you gave to the septo parents. It was standing room only, yep. And the information that you were going through was just terrific, I have to tell you, and very eye-opening. Can you tell us a little bit, before we get into the Feingold program, a little bit about yourself?
Yep. I am an East Brunswick resident. I have two children, 5th grade and in kindergarten. And my son, the oldest, was diagnosed with ADHD back in 1st grade. And we didn't want to immediately jump into medications. So we just decided we were going to look for an alternative to the medications at first. So we got down to business of doing some research, and along the way we've met some pretty interesting people that were able to help us. And it's been great. It's been an eye-opening experience. You know, the schools have been great. East Brunswick School District has been wonderful. They've been very supportive. They've given us information about the foods that they serve in the schools. So you know, we haven't run into any roadblocks in our pursuit of, you know, finding a better way to treat our son's ADHD.
Now, who was it that originally told you about the Feingold program? Was it your pediatrician?
No, he's been very supportive as well, and that's a difficult thing sometimes when you have a pediatrician who doesn't support this type of program. But it was a client of my husband who told him that her son was on Feingold, and he'd been on it for 29 years, and just started telling him about all the great things that have happened with the program. So he came home, he told me about it, and immediately we started researching.
Now, is this program for special needs children or children who have special challenges with learning, or is it for everyone?
It should be for everyone. You know, the program itself helps with more than just ADHD. People with eczema, people with migraines. The executive director of the Feingold program originally found it because her husband was having such serious migraines that nothing was working. And when he started the program, the migraines started to subside, and they also discovered the added benefit of their children not having any ADHD symptoms either. So it kind of snowballed, but it is for a lot of different ailments. And
I'm assuming it could also be really for wellness, because
absolutely, it's
not intended to be a treatment for certain ailments.
No.
It's really designed to help the body function better.
Right, and it's not a diet in the sense that, you know, if you don't have a bikini body, you're going to get one on this diet. That's not going to happen. It's really more of a wellness program for you, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about who Dr. Feingold was.
He was an eminent allergist and a pediatrician. He was the head of allergy at Kaiser Presidente Medical Center in California. And he started his work back in the 60s, and he was probably one of the first people who discover the correlation between the foods that we put in our bodies and the effect they have on our behavior and our learning.
So if Dr. Feingold developed this program in the 60s, why are we hearing about this so many decades later?
There's more than one reason for it. The big reason is the food industry is so big and so powerful. They do have lobbyists that they can pay for, that can go to Capitol Hill and really work hard to make sure that their voice is heard. You know, when it costs money to remove these additives, they really don't want to do it. They want to be able to put the cheaper products into their foods and sell them to the consumer.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this program. Mm-hmm. what exactly is the Feingold program? What is it that Dr. Feingold's telling us to do that's so good for us?
So it's more of a test than a diet. So what we do is we advise people to eat the foods that they normally eat, but just change the brands that they use. We have a book that it's a food list, and it gives the brands of many different types of foods that you can use, that you can find in mainstream supermarkets, and it's an elimination diet.
You mean elimination diet as in targeting certain things
Correct.
that could be toxic,
Yep.
and discovering them and eliminating them.
Correct. So
Okay.
what we do is we eliminate a lot of foods in the beginning. A lot of fruits and vegetables are eliminated because even though they're
Fruits
healthy,
and vegetables.
even though they're healthy foods, people do have reactions to certain fruits. So, if you are allergic to strawberries, you get hives from strawberries, you eliminate those from your diet.
Now, would it matter whether they're organically grown or grown with pesticides? Couldn't that be an influencing factor too?
It is always better, obviously, to eat foods that aren't grown in pesticides, but it's not a requirement for Feingold. It's really about the food itself.
Okay.
So, we eliminate
Fruits and vegetables.
some of them, not all of them. Apples, grapes, oranges,
You
a lot of
eliminate
berries.
apples?
Yes.
What about the old apple a day?
If you have a sensitivity to an apple, though, it's really not going to be helpful to you.
How would someone
So,
know?
You eliminate it for 6 weeks.
And then,
And then you try it. After your body has adjusted to the 6 weeks without
Oh.
these foods, then you start reintroducing foods into your system. And if there's no reaction, then you know that it's okay to eat those foods.
okay, so what would a common reaction be?
Well, as far as the apple goes, with my son, he was unable to speak at room level. When he ate apples, he was the loudest kid in the room. So once we cut the apples out of his diet, he was able to speak at normal levels in the room.
Now, how would an apple do that to a person?
It's his body's reaction to it. There are certain things that occur naturally in certain fruits that cause reactions in people. So
What are some other fruits that people may be highly sensitive to in addition to apples?
grapes, berries, lots of berries, oranges. There's a whole bunch of fruits that should be eliminated for the first 6 weeks. But again, he does eat strawberries now. He does eat almost every berry out there. So we eliminated them for 6 weeks, brought them back into his diet, and realized the only fruit that really has an effect on him is the apple. So he doesn't eat them anymore. But he does eat every other kind of fruit you put in front of him. So it's just a matter of testing it out. Like I said, the same thing with the strawberry. If you have strawberries and you get hives, then you don't eat strawberries anymore.
Right. Right. Now, in addition to fruits, where else does the testing go? Does it go into vegetables, and does it go into different forms of protein as well?
Well, it goes into all foods. The biggest thing is the artificial additives. You have the dyes, the petroleum-based dyes, which are any color followed by a number. So red 40, yellow 5, blue 1. Those are petroleum-based dyes. They are neurotoxins, so we eliminate those.
So anytime anybody reads an ingredient on a package and it's followed by a number,
Yes.
I remember you saying that automatically signifies that's a petroleum-based dye, and it should be hands-off.
That is correct. Yeah, it's a second cousin to the gasoline in your car. And you're ingesting this with the foods that have those dyes in them. And very shocking to most people is that white marshmallows have blue dye in them. So, you even have to read the package on something that looks as bland as a marshmallow.
Lisa, why do they do this? Why do they put stuff in this stuff that we put in our bodies that is proven to cause problems?
Well, there are natural ways of putting coloring in foods, but the cheapest way is with these petroleum-based dyes. They want things to have bright colors. Children love bright colors, so the cereals have them. Vitamins. Vitamins didn't always have purple colors and were shaped like dinosaurs. They used to be just plain old vitamins like everybody else took. But, with the coloring, they're more attractive to kids, and they believe that the kids will eat them.
Well, years ago, people didn't even need vitamins because the soil was so rich and the process of farming was different.
Right.
So all of the nutrients in the soil managed to get into the foods, and the foods were grown in a completely different way, so they were more wholesome for us to eat.
Right.
And we got our nutrients through the foods. And now we supplement because a lot of the foods that we eat, while they may look the same, are devoid of a lot of the nutrients.
Right, and that comes from processing. You know, some foods are so processed that they're almost not foods anymore. You know, they're a couple of steps away from no longer being a food. And these are sold on our shelves in the supermarkets, and we put them in our children's lunch boxes and on our dinner tables every night.
So, okay, so apples, food dyes and additives. What are some other triggers, commonly found triggers that most people don't know about?
There are some colorings that are made from industry waste. So if you, I'm sorry, flavorings that are made from industry waste. So if you are baking cookies and you use vanillin instead of pure vanilla extract, vanillin was coming originally from the waste product of paper mills. So all the gush that came off the papers when they were making them went into making vanillin. And you know, it's a waste product.
Lisa, is there a special way that Feingold directs food should be prepared?
No, they do offer recipes, but they don't tell you that you should not grill and you should not be frying your foods.
Not grill or fry?
They don't say that.
Oh.
They don't tell you not to do that.
They don't tell you not
Correct.
to?
Correct. They want to make sure that the food you're bringing into your home to prepare in the way that you prepare your meals is more wholesome and better for you coming into the house. And then the rest is up to you. You know your family, you know your body, you know if you can have a couple of extra trans fats or not, whether you can fry your food or not. It's really about your physical makeup and how your body reacts to the way you prepare your foods.
So at the time of this taping, it's the beginning of a new year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people have made resolutions to be able to take better care of themselves,
Yes.
and that probably includes eating better. How do they begin with this? Where does a person start that doesn't know anything?
Okay, well, you can go to the Feingold website. It's adhddiet.org or feingold.org.
But they don't have to have ADHD?
They do not, no.
Okay.
It's just an easier way to get to the site. And there is a lot of information on that site about how to start the program. There is a food list that you can get. When you join the program, you get a food list. We even research fast food restaurants. So if your family likes to go out for fast food every now and then, we do have a listing of foods that you can get at certain fast food restaurants that do not have the dyes, that do not have the artificial additives in them. And they help you make better choices.
So where do you take your kids to eat on Route 18?
Oddly enough, my kids don't like fast food, but they love pizza. So we do eat a lot of pizza.
So for the viewers who want to take their kids somewhere on Route 18 to have fast food in the event that that's a choice
Yep.
they want to make, where are some of the best places for them to go right now?
Well, there are some things they can get at McDonald's. Wendy's has some foods also. So you can pretty much go anywhere on 18 as long as you have the food list and you can look up what you can get for your children and yourself. Even restaurants. If you go into a restaurant where there is wait service, you can ask them to prepare foods in a certain way so that you're not getting the additives. Ask them, if you're on the first section of Feingold, the first 6 weeks where you're just starting out, it's recommended that you don't have anything with paprika in it. So you can request that things not be made with paprika. That's a Feingold Stage 2 seasoning.
All right, now that's something that we haven't spoken about yet.
Right,
so I'll let you finish this thought, and then I want to talk about the different stages.
Okay. So, the restaurants are willing to prepare foods any way you ask them to prepare. People in Weight Watchers can go in and ask things to be made without butter on them. So as long as you're willing to ask for things prepared a certain way, you can still feed your family on the road or, on the way to shopping or a movie and still be able to stick with the Feingold program.
Are there any other seasonings besides paprika that people should be wary of?
There are. Off the top of my head, I don't know all of them, but in the Feingold program book, it'll tell you which seasonings to stay away from for the first 6 weeks.
Okay. Now, is the Feingold program itself a 6-week program to be able to discover which foods a person may be allergic to? Or is it the first 6 weeks just fruits and certain vegetables, and then you move on to other food groups?
The first 6 weeks are basically elimination of not just fruits and vegetables, but all varieties of certain foods, or certain varieties of all foods, I should say. So certain cereals, certain lunch meats. If you want to have a ham sandwich, well, then you're going to want to get Dietz and Watson or Boar's Head brand meats and put them on Vermont bread, which you can buy in any mainstream supermarket. So it's really a matter of just eliminating the brands of certain foods rather than the foods themselves.
Oh, okay. And so those would be 2 brands of cold cuts that would be acceptable.
Correct.
And does it matter whether a person orders turkey or roast beef or ham, or are they all acceptable?
In the book, it'll tell you what is acceptable at certain times in the program. And it does eliminate certain types of meats in the first 6 weeks as well. So,
what about dairy?
Dairy is not eliminated. Unless you have a lactose problem, then yeah, you obviously would eliminate the dairy because of those reasons. But there are certain milks that are on the program that you can have, butter, certain sour creams. So especially cheese. You can definitely have cheese on the program as well. So a lot of kids like their string cheese, and you can have it. It's all in this food list book. So there's Feingold Stage 1 and Feingold Stage 2 in the same book, and you literally go through the list. It tells you the brand name, and then it tells you what products under that brand are acceptable during that time in the program.
And talk about the stages, Stage 1 and Stage 2. What does that mean?
So Stage 1 is the first 6 weeks of the elimination. That's when you are learning about the program. You're eliminating lots and lots of types of foods and brands, and starting to eat in a way that there's really no way to have reactions to foods. Nothing is really being brought into your system that you can react to. Once you've gone through the first 6 weeks, then you move into Stage 2, and that's for life. You start reintroducing foods back into your system. You go through the book, you find the foods that you like, you find the brands that work, and you start reintroducing them. If you have a reaction to that particular food, whether it be something on the skin like, hives or eczema or something like that, or you realize that there's a behavioral problem associated with this food, then you know that that is something that cannot remain in the diet, and you keep it out forever.
Headaches, joint pain,
headaches especially,
nausea,
yep.
Digestive problems.
Yes.
Emotional distress, irritability, things like that.
Yes.
Would all be things to look for.
Yep. And food additives have been linked to things like reproductive malfunction, cancer, certain cancers, behavioral problems, migraines. I mean, it just runs the gamut of all different types of issues that your body can have from certain foods.
And the inflammatory reaction that it causes within the body.
Yes, yes.
Well, I would imagine a person would have a much stronger immune system if it was free to be able to fight whatever would be challenging the body ordinarily, instead of poaching energy from the body to be able to fight the additives that are in the foods that are attempting to be digested and processed through.
That is absolutely correct. And one of the things that I say when I speak to a group of people, especially parents in special education organizations, that this program doesn't cure autism. It doesn't cure ADHD, but it peels away all the minutia. It gets rid of all the extra stuff that is attacking your system, so that you can get down to the business of just treating the specific issue with the child or an adult. And you don't have, a lot of times you're fighting something with something that's detrimental to your body. So you're kind of fighting this losing battle. If you get rid of all of these additives and all these fake products being put into your system, then you just have this one certain issue that you can deal with. And a lot of people are finding that while they still might need some form of medication for their child, a stimulant medication, they're not using a dose as high as they were using.
Less, right?
Yes.
Or none at all.
Exactly, exactly. Some people have eliminated the medications altogether, but that's by the child, by the person, not something that we recommend doing without talking to your doctor and making sure that it's okay to do that.
Tell us a little bit about the Feingold Association.
So we are a group of parents and professionals who volunteer our time. We are not paid.
You're not paid?
No, not at all.
For doing any of this?
No, I'm not.
So when you speak around and you're an advocate for this organization,
I am. Why
do you do it?
Because I've seen what the Feingold program has done in my family. I've seen the positive changes in my family. And I believe in it. It's a program that I have seen work, that has opened my eyes to really the poisons that are in our foods. And I really believe that people can benefit from it, that there's absolutely no reason why people should not be doing this. Even if you are a believer in medications, there's nothing bad about the Feingold program. There's really no reason why anybody shouldn't be doing it.
Well, that's just it, because regardless of what choices a person decides to make in their life, you're going to have better results having a healthier body than you are having a body that's not as healthy.
That's right. And one of the things we discovered, which was a shock to us, my son has severe hemophilia, and he cannot have anything with aspirin in it. And as I was researching Feingold, I realized that a lot of these artificial additives are aspirin-based. And that was one thing that really kind of pushed us over the edge as far as making sure we eliminated all these foods, because there is nothing that can come from this good, as far as hemophilia goes, when you introduce an aspirin-based additive into his diet.
How long should it take for a person who's begun this program to start to see results?
They say up to about 10 days. In 3 days, we saw some changes in my son. We have a friend who would see him every day, and she noticed before we did that the dark circles were gone under his eyes. And that was probably within day 5. But usually, you should give it up to 10 days to really get your system purged of all of these additives and getting used to having something new introduced. But the 6 weeks is really the litmus test for all of it.
In terms of the major food producers, which food producers tend to work best with the parents who are interested in doing a program like this for their families?
Well, it depends on if you're in the United States or in Europe.
Is Feingold worldwide?
It is, but the food manufacturers, the multinational companies, they do have different standards in Europe. Years ago, there was a law passed by Parliament that said that they had to disclose the artificial ingredients being used in their foods. And instead of putting warning labels on and telling people what to look out for in the food, they decided to go natural. So they now have 2 different production lines, one for the United States where they still put the artificial products in, and then one for Europe where everything is all natural. So if you go to McDonald's in the United States and you get a strawberry sundae, you're going to get red 40. If you go to McDonald's in Europe and you get a strawberry sundae, you're going to get strawberries. So, and it's that's just the way it is.
What if somebody wants to be even more proactive and take this beyond the foods that they choose? What if they want to be more proactive? What would you recommend they do to bring about change in how foods are made within the United States?
Well, one voice can't get much done. A lot of people need to band together and go to their leaders, talk to people, make sure that people know. Michelle Obama is doing a great job with, healthy kids and healthier eating, but if you're feeding your children foods with aspartame in them, if you're feeding children diet foods that might have artificial coloring, you're only doing part of the job. You're not eliminating the worst parts of these foods. So we need to really get people to see the whole picture, not just eliminating fats and sugars, really eliminating the artificial part of our food.
From your vantage point, Lisa, where do you see the food industry going these days? Is it moving more towards things natural? Is it moving more towards engineering foods and it becoming more artificial? What do you think?
I think it goes more, they're staying more with the artificial, I believe, because it's cheaper for them.
So it's just a matter of dollars and cents?
Absolutely. Money talks. When you have science and you have politics and you've got politicians who are willing to back what the lobbyists for the food companies are requesting, and it's cheaper for the food companies to make these foods with these additives, it all works against the better good of the people.
And there are critics who say that the food companies are in cahoots with the drug companies because the food companies putting these additives in the foods create conditions that the drug companies get to treat.
Yes. And of course the drug companies give you these little pills that have artificial dyes on the outside, so they're easier to swallow. So, and I actually showed that at the meeting that you had attended, and I took out an ADHD medication and I said, this is what is used to help a child with ADHD. Look what it's coated in. It was a blue and a yellow pill, and those colors were made from petroleum. So it's a battle that just keeps waging on.
In the couple of minutes that we have left, Lisa, what is it that parents need to know that we haven't discussed yet? Parents
need to know that I think everybody is aware that the foods we eat affect our health. What parents tend not to know or not realize most of the time is that the foods we eat also affect our behavior and our ability to learn. So the foods that your children eat, that you eat, really affect how you learn, what your abilities are as far as learning goes, and retention. If you cannot take in information and retain that information because the foods you're eating are causing all kinds of havoc in your brain, then the best thing to do is eliminate those foods.
Thank you, Lisa. I have to thank you so much for coming on the Wellness Spotlight today. You've just been a terrific guest, and this time has flown.
Yes, it has. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. This concludes another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. I'm Dr. Ken Friedman, President of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council, with Lisa Maniaci, reminding you that wellness works when you work it.